And hello again, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I am your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you once again for joining us this evening. Happy Saturday night, 4th of July weekend. Hope everybody's having a lovely time out there. Uh, Hot one here up in southern Maine. A little bit of rain tonight, but everybody having a great time. Yeah, been a fun little weekend. Took my kiddo out to see the best hockey movie in the theaters right now, Inside Out 2, and that was a lot of fun. He loved it. Fell asleep on the car ride home. But bigger than that, yesterday he actually got his first trophy on Mario Kart without any help from dad. The kid's 4 years old, man. I was so proud of him. That kid was jumping up and down for joy. It was a ton of fun, man. I love it. I just want to bottle him up at 4 years old and just let him be four forever. I'm sure that most parents out there listening to this would probably agree, but it's a fun age, and yeah, last couple days been a lot of fun having him here. So anyway, with all that said, we do have a little bit of news to talk about today. Probably a short podcast today. News has kind of quieted down, but a few things have hit the wires today, and I wanted just to briefly talk about Jeremy Swayman. The deadline for filing for arbitration has passed as of I think it was the 5th, and Swayman and the Bruins have not filed for arbitration. This is good news. This is good news. We know that last year they went to arbitration. They got through it, but Swayman was not a big fan of it. I really don't think the Bruins were too keen on going down that road, but they had to do it. They got it done. Going to avoid it this year. This is typically an indication that the teams are, either have a gentleman's agreement or something in place, knowing, hey, we're going to continue to work forward. We're going to get this done. Now you can just kinda take the time frames off of it. They're gonna get something done. I know a lot of people are still really nervous about this, but it's gonna happen. I'm kinda thinking, you're probably looking at 7.5 to 8.5, over 8 years. That's kinda where I would guess this ends up. Maybe Swayman says, "Hey, I'm gonna take a shorter term deal and bet on myself," and knowing the cap's gonna go up in the next kinda 2 and 3 years, maybe I make more money after that, but Saros, I think he got 7.75 from Nashville or right around there. And that's, I feel like, kind of the benchmark for where Swayman will probably end up. So, we'll see what happens. But the fact that they were able to get through that arbitration deadline and no filings happened, I think is a very good thing for all sides, for everybody involved here. As we sit today on Saturday night, July 6th, the Bruins have 8.636666 in the bank in terms of millions of dollars in terms of cap space. That means that with that, their roster, they have 21 of their 23 roster spots filled. And for contracts, they've got 41 contracts signed out of a possible 50. So still a little work to do. Most of that 8.6, of course, will most likely end up with Swayman. But it does lead to another question in terms of what else is happening here in this offseason with the Bruins. We know they spent their money. We know that they went out and got Sidorov. They went out and got Lindholm. We also know that they still have a pretty glaring need in that second line kind of wing position, kind of right wing position, most likely. So you kind of start to look around the league. Who has what in terms of cap space? Who has what for potential, expiring contracts, players that Boston might be interested in. As of today, you've got three teams that still have over $20 million of cap space available. That would be Calgary, Detroit, and Anaheim. Now, I'm going to kind of focus in on Anaheim a little bit. They're a team that is obviously they're rebuilding, bunch of young talent. It's a team that Boston has worked with in the past on a couple of different trades over their, most recent history. You just kind of wonder if Sweeney isn't picking up the phone and having some conversations with these guys. The name that's going to kind of jump off the page to everybody will be Trevor Zegras, who is still there. A name that was a lot of conversation coming into May and June, and it's kind of died off. You haven't really heard much about Zegras over the past kind of couple of weeks. Not sure if they've taken him off the market. Couldn't find anything for him, but he's still there at a $5.75 million cap hit. And you do wonder if Anaheim, maybe they just haven't got the right offer. Are they still listening to offers? But that could be interesting. But more importantly than Seager, someone that I really would love to see Boston go after would be former Bruin Frank Vetrano, who is on an expiring contract. His hit this year would be 3.65 million. He's 30 years old. And last year he had 60 points, 37 goals, 23 assists. Had his career year for sure, but really was a good, strong veteran for that group. Great line on a really, really bad team. We know how that can translate sometimes not so well to better teams, but man, I like a lot of what he has, and I think he would just be a perfect fit for our second line. I think he would make a lot of sense. I think that would be a target that would make a ton of sense if you're Boston. Listen, just look at the situation. It's the trade partner you've worked with in the past in Anaheim. Um, you know, he's the exact position you need. You need a wing. Yeah, I think he's a left shot, but I think he does play some right wing as well. He's played here before, obviously over the years, and he's a Massachusetts native. Um, I looked up his contract. It doesn't look like he has a no movement clause, so I don't think there'd be any restrictions in terms of like his say in the matter. But I just think if you're Sweeney, that's one of the conversations I'm going to have. Because Anaheim can take cap back. You can, whether it's a first round draft pick you have to give them or something, you can exchange some of that money, whether it's a Corpusello's contract or maybe they eat some of Vetrano's contract coming back. There's ways you can make that work and still get Swayman under the cap if they want to. Now, I'm assuming that they're still looking for a second line wing, but maybe they're content to go in with Fabian Lysell and Merkelov and maybe Trent Frederick gets an opportunity in that second line. I think he's a player that is clearly elevated the past couple seasons. Maybe he has an opportunity to step up to that second line. But man, Frankie V would be man. I mean, I just think he's one of those contracts, one of those players that we got rid of a few years ago. It's kind of like, man, that sucked. We should have held on to him. And Anaheim's not going anyplace. They're not going to be a playoff team this year. Again, Frankie V is on an expiring contract. If they don't trade him now, look at the deadline, they might be looking to move him. Unless he says, "Hey, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this. I'll sign I'll resign here and keep building with these young players." We'll see what he wants to do, but um, I think that's definitely a player to be watching for, and we'll see what happens there. Um, Another one I kind of look at, probably less likely, and keep in mind, guys, there's no buzz around Vetrano right now. There's no buzz on this next player I'm going to talk about either. These are just more of me looking at rosters, looking at um, kind of salary cap situations, and kind of just musing amongst myself here as to what Boston might want to look at. But if you go out to Calgary, you have Blake Coleman, another name that could be a possibility. Now he has a little bit more term and a little bit more money behind him. 3 more years at $4.6 million. He also has a modified no trade clause. So I don't know what teams are on that list, but he would definitely have a voice in any sort of movement. But given the fact that Calgary has over 20 million, they're in kind of a retool. Now, listen, uh, Coleman had a good year last year. He may be part of what they want as a solution moving forward. And given what he gave them, which was 30 goals and 24 assists for 54 points on that contract, that's probably pretty good value. Maybe they don't want to move him, but if they're looking to move him, they're another team that could eat some money, take a first round draft pick, and I think Coleman would be another really solid second line wing fit for this group. We'll see. Those are two that just kind of stood out to me. If you are seeing anyone else out there on a team that you'd love to see Boston go after in terms of a trade, leave those comments down below. Would love to hear from you all about that. Looking at the UFA market, starting to slim up a little bit. Not as much out there, not as much available, but there's still a couple of key names to keep in mind. Tyler Johnson from Chicago is still available. He had 17 goals, 14 assists for 31 points last year. Daniel Sprong. Daniel Sprong is still available from Detroit. 18 goals, 25 assists for 43 points. That's a name that kind of like. Not really sure what's holding up him resigning. If somebody knows, is he injured or something? I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything, but he seems like a guy uh, that I would imagine would have signed by now. If there's any Red Wing fans out there that follow this, again, comment down below. Would love to hear from you guys if there's something that I'm not seeing on that one. You have Philip Zadina, player out of San Jose, 13 goals, 10 assists, 23 total points last year. Certainly more of a middle six type of guy, a guy that's never quite kind of risen to those expectations that we had for him. Um, and with Zadina, he's bounced around a little bit. He is from the Czech, so you do wonder if that would be a fit with Pasta um, and Pavel Zaka. But he's a little bit risk reward with this guy. He had a what was it, Washington? He had a pretty good year. Got traded to Detroit, and it's just really never quite lived up to that expectation. But could be a low risk, high reward type of guy if you're really looking for a flyer on somebody. And then there's still JVR. James Van Riemsdyk is still out there. He had 11 goals, 27 assists with 38 points for Boston a year ago. um, no buzz on him either. Him or Shattenkirk, for that matter, in terms of UFAs out of Boston. Um, yeah, given his age, is he looking to retire? I don't know. Is he looking at Philly as maybe a little bit of a homecoming? Maybe Toronto, played in Toronto for years. Maybe they take him on. I wouldn't be sad to see JVR come back. I know he was beat up at the end of the year. I know he didn't give you a whole lot, but when he was healthy, he did some things. He's not going to be a second line guy for it, and I think that's most likely why Boston doesn't bring him back. They got plenty of third and fourth line guys, but um, on a league minimum contract, you could do a lot worse than JVR. We'll see. I think he's 36, 37, so I'm not really sure what the plans are around him, but still, I think some work to do for Boston. You got to get Swayman done. And you gotta figure out, are you just gonna run with what you have, which is might work out fine with Trent Frederick and some of these younger players, maybe they can fill that second line role, or, once Swayman's done, do you then have some clarity in terms of what kind of money do you have? Where can I go and spend? And maybe that's what's holding some of this up too. Maybe they're just waiting to get Swayman done before they make any other moves. But gonna be curious. Like I said, I don't think Sweeney's done. I don't think this roster is 100% what you're going to see in September, October. Um, should be, I would imagine, more to come. There was a trade that happened a couple days ago between Edmonton and Buffalo. Edmonton receiving a young center Matthew Savoye. Uh, he's 20 years old. He's a 2022 number 9 pick out of Buffalo. And I think it's Savoy. I said Savoy. I think it's Savoy. Apologize for that. Last year in the WHL, he played 34 games, 30 goals, 41 assists for 71 points. He definitely ripped up the WHL last year. Only played the one game in Buffalo. In exchange, Buffalo is getting forward Ryan McLeod and forward Tyler Tullio. McLeod is 24 years old, played 81 games last year in the regular year, had 12 goals, 18 assists for 30 points. Played 24 playoff games, had 4 goals, no assists, 4 points through that playoff run. Uh, a lot of talk that Savoy is already kind of at McLeod's level in terms of where he's at in his game. I think this is a heck of a trade for Edmonton. I think McLeod is still young and more ready to go today. So Buffalo is clearly looking to, you know, bring in a little bit of juice to that. But man, if you're Edmonton, getting this kid Savoy in your building, this is great. This could be an absolute steal show for the Oilers here. We'll see how it works out. A little bit of UMaine news today. Josh Nadeau, of course, had been playing up in the developmental camp with the Montreal Canadiens. They just finished up and wrapped up, but he had one heck of a last day there. They played a couple of 3-on-3 scrimmages, and He had a total of 3 goals and 1 assist and just looked pretty nice. Looked really good up there. Made a really good impression. Good on him. Way to end it. Gonna be curious as we get more reports from more of these humane players that have been at camps as they get back on campus. I'm excited to see what the Black Bears do this year. I know that Bradley's gone. I know that with the goalie there, and I'm forgetting his name right now. The kiddo that signed up in Seattle was our starter last year. They've lost a couple of guys, but I think you got a good group coming back. Should be a lot of fun. And a little bit still talking about Hockey East. If you're a BU fan, I'm sorry, but Macklin Celebrini has signed his entry level contract and will be playing for the San Jose Sharks this year and not the BU Terriers. There was a little bit of question coming into the draft. Where would he kind of decide to go? These players can get drafted, their rights can be held on to, they can go back to college. Given his age, there was a little bit of thought maybe Celebrini goes back to BU. Um, but the decision's been made that sign the contract, going to go to San Jose. I think he's ready. I'm not sure what else he had to prove at BU or at the NCAA level. Going to be a lot of fun to see what he and Will Smith and that group can do out there. Looking forward to it. Seeing him, then seeing Connor Bedard in year two should be a lot of fun. So, so that's really all we have today. Like I said, news is kind of shrinking. It's getting a little more quiet. As we get kind of further removed from July 1. I am working on a guest list. Got a few exciting names. Hopefully, that will be joining me here soon on some different episodes. Still working to get my YouTube subscribers up, but we're growing. We're getting there. Thank you all for that support. I love to see it. Love to see it. But um, yeah, I think you're going to be quite happy to see some of the guests I have lined up. Looking forward to getting them on here. Um, but again, thank you as always for all your support. It's been a good start. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like what you're hearing. And as I say, until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.